Hi, this is Allison Arngrim, alias Nellie Olson, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson, welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television. In case you missed it, earlier this year, Netflix announced that it is developing a reboot of Little House on the Prairie, the classic TV series starring Michael Landon that is based on the books by Laura Ingalls Wilder. The Netflix series promises to be a fresh adaptation of the story of the Ingalls family, and I understand will be based specifically on the third Little House book in the series. With that in mind, we thought we'd reach out to Dean Butler. Dean Butler, the actor known around the world as Almanzo on Little House on the Prairie, to see if he has any thoughts about this reboot of Little House on the Prairie. Dean's memoir, of course, Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond, available wherever books are sold through Kensington Press. Dean, welcome back to our program.
Thanks, Ed. Nice to be with you.
Nice to have you back. I am not one of these people who believe that reboot or reimagining or remake, I don't believe any of those words are dirty words, because when you think about it, the concept of a remake has pretty much been around since motion pictures started more than 100 years ago. So for me, whether a remake of a movie or a play or a TV series is good or bad always comes down to how you put it together. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I absolutely agree with you that I think that remakes of programs are a natural part of creative expression. Little House was initially based on the books of Laura Ingalls Wilder. I mean, that's where they drew their broad inspiration. I think that given the way the original Little House moved away from the books for its week-to-week content, I think it's very likely in this new environment, this new streaming environment on Netflix, where seasons are not 22 episodes, but 6, 7, or 8 episodes, generally, I think it's very likely that these stories that we're going to see of the Ingalls family coming up will be much more tightly connected to what actually appears in that third book, Little House on the Prairie, which, of course, is Laura Ingalls Wilder's most popular best-selling book of the entire series. So that's where it will start. Now, where it goes from there, I don't know, but that's where it will begin, and I think it'll be interesting.
You touched on something that I intended to ask you anyway in your response, Dean. My understanding, and I'm going off memory of what I read both in Alison Arngrim's book and in your book, is that Michael Landon, yes, the series was called Little House on the Prairie, but Landon more or less stayed away from the books themselves because he felt that the stories in the books did not have the sort of emotional, oomph that he wanted to capture every week in the series. And so in that respect, it seems to me if you're going to remake an iconic show like Little House on the Prairie, Netflix is going about it the right way.
Yeah, I think and look, I know the rights holders, the Little House rights holders very well. They absolutely believe in their father's vision. Now, in this case, Ed Friendly, Trip Friendly, the son of Ed Friendly, who initially found the Little House book and optioned them for television. I think that Trip is very much a passionate believer in his father's vision for what the series back then could have been. And I think he's going to stand very strongly on that vision as an executive producer of this new approach to Little House. I think he's going to really want to stay in the realm of the books. I think that's going to be really, really important to him. And
besides, this is also my theory on remakes, Dean. If a reboot of Little House on the Prairie brings people back to the original NBC Little House on the Prairie, which now celebrates its 50th anniversary on television, and brings people back to reading books like Alison Arngram's book or Prairie Man by Dean Butler. Those are all good things.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, Ed. I think all of us who are involved in the Little House series have a passionate commitment to how it's touched audiences through the years. We've seen it, we've felt it, we have experienced it firsthand. We know the resonance that it has. So we are very, very respectful of that impact. And so, we want to celebrate that. And we also think that, I think many of us feel, that there is room for different ways of approaching this material. I've long believed, and I think many of us have, that what the Little House series did in moving away from the actual book material for Michael's, I think, well-considered reasons, still captured the tone of the books.
Mm-hmm.
People who have read the books and know the television series, they fit together.
Mm-hmm.
But there are different characters and there are many different stories. I'm fortunate in the sense, Ed, that my involvement in the series is one of those threads that is pulled from the books into the series, and while it plays out somewhat differently in terms of the specific experiences, that relationship, that Lauren Almanzo relationship, became a very important part of the latter Little House books, and it became a very important part of the latter part of the Little House series.
Dean Butler's on the line with us. Dean Butler, the actor known around the world as Almanzo on Little House on the Prairie, Moondoggie on The New Gidget, Buffy's dad on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the producer of the long-running Emmy-nominated NBC Golf Channel talk show, Feherty. Dean's memoir, Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond, available wherever books are sold through Kensington Books, an imprint to Citadel Press. You can follow Dean, DeanButler.com, or official Dean Butler on Instagram.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
Hey, this is Carolyn Hennessy, and you are listening to TV Confidential.
The last time you were on, Dean, I told you that one of the reasons your book really resonated with me is the fact that you not only grew up in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, but you gave readers a really good understanding of sort of the cultural differences for someone who grew up in Northern California and was led to think LA is a certain way. Coming to grips with that yourself and giving people an understanding of how you made the transition from Northern California to Southern California. That's a long-winded way of saying one of my favorite parts of the book is not only you not only talk about your growing up years in Northern California, but you talk about how you got your foot in the door on television working in several episodes of one of my favorite shows, Street to San Francisco.
Yeah, that was that was in its moment on ABC. Streets of San Francisco was a very, very cool hour of television. And growing up in the Bay Area, to be able to watch that opening title every week and seeing those characters in places that were so well known to me, certainly in terms of the major, the major spots in San Francisco that everybody knows, that was really, really fun. Now, add to that, and of course, I always think that all the Quinn Martin shows had these very cool opening title sequences. I just think they did that very, very well. And then you add to that original cast of Carl Malden, Michael Douglas, and these two guys were so great together, and they brought such a weight to this program and credibility and authenticity, and the stories were good. It was just a really, really good show. So every young actor in the Bay Area, when there was going to be a local casting, the Streets of San Francisco was going to be the shot that you were going to get that Screen Actors Guild card, to get your Screen Extras Guild card. That was the doorway in to, professional work. And so that was the first time, showing up on that set was really, really cool. I think my first time was on the Embarcadero in San Francisco doing a student car wash. So, I'm 20, I'm 20 years old at that point, something like that. And it was just so much fun. It was great.
In the annals of Streets of San Francisco history, one of the most famous episodes it was a two-parter. Patty Duke is the head of like a SLA, Simonese Liberation Army type of group that terrorizes the city of San Francisco. And it's the episode that marked the transition from Michael Douglas's departure of the show and Richard Hatch's taking over for the arrival during the final season. And you were part of one of the pivotal scenes. I believe you played a hospital orderly who takes Douglas to the hospital after he is shot by Susan Day.
Yeah. Is that what? I don't remember that part of it. So he was shot by Susan Day?
I believe, yeah. Patty Duke shot Dick Van Patten earlier in the episode. Susan Day was the one who shot Michael Douglas.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
But he was so good. Michael Douglas just had this. There was something about Michael Douglas's hair. I was for the opening title sequence when he turned and ran. The hair sort of had a life of its own, and he just had this great cool factor about him. And I do remember that scene in the hospital, rolling him in the door and down on the gurney from the ambulance to the operating room, and we did it multiple times. And here he is lying on the gurney right there with all of us, and it was just great to feel like you were a part of the scene that way. And of course, the fun thing in that kind of a moment, Ed, is that when you're a young extra trying to move along, you actually got to see yourself when the scene aired. So that was really, really fun.
And if I remember correctly, I know you took advantage of whenever you were on the set with Carl Malden, you took advantage to study him as much as you could, given the fine, while also doing your job, as an extra. Did you have any chance to talk to him off mic about acting?
I wish I had. I think these guys they came to the set at the last minute. And I think when I did my first dialogue, I certainly got to say hello to him, and it was he and Richard Hatch. I got to say hello to him and chit-chat for a moment, but there was no time for really serious conversation.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that he was incredibly gracious. They both were very kind. understanding that, here are these two young guys who are doing this little bit on the show, and they treated us like we were their peers, and that was a very generous, kind thing for them to do.
Dean Butler's on the line with us. Dean Butler, the actor known around the world as Almanzo on Little House on the Prairie. Dean's memoir, Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond, available wherever books are sold through Kensington Books. You mentioned Quinn Martin, the great Quinn Martin shows, the opening title sequence, all the iconic elements that put you in the mood, to watch. Quinn Martin was a great purveyor of television. He knew how to get people in their seats and ready to watch shows. This is a Quinn Martin connection in the sense that a few years after you cut your teeth working as an extra on Street, your first major screen role was opposite Stephanie Zimbalist in Forever, which is adapted from the Judy Blume books. And Stephanie Zimbalist, of course, daughter of Ephraim Zimbalist, who is iconic as the star of the Quinn Martin FBI.
Oh, no, that's interesting. See, very cool. I had not connected the FBI with Quinn Martin.
Really? Okay.
I didn't know that. Now, that's really fun. Obviously, he did Barnaby Jones, and so he was really, Quinn Martin was really cop shows.
Yes.
I mean, he really, that was his stock and trade, was cop shows.
Yes, and for a working actor, you just touched on this. Even if you're a working actor just getting your start in the industry, because Quinn Martin shows were very, very popular. If you got on that radar, that means that casting people would watch Quinn Martin shows looking for young actors like Dean Butler. So it was a good first credit for you to have.
Well, thank you, Ed. I appreciate that. I was certainly, my God, it was, like at that moment, the highlight of my life. I know I wrote about this in the book. I think one of the coolest moments for anyone who is sort of, looking for the indication that things are changing. I remember arriving on the set, and the honey wagon drove up, and I saw my name on the dressing room door. And I think it's a little thing, but it's a memorable thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm an actor on this show, not an extra. I mean, there's no honey wagon name on the door for an extra. But if you're in the cast, you get your name on the door, and that was really fun.
Yeah, or if you're co-starring in a movie with Stephanie Zimbalist, which is your first major screen role, and that's an extended shoot. The same perks apply there. You're not
so
just
even better.
Yeah, even better.
I was number 2 on the call sheet. I mean, that's sort of where you want to be.
Now, in your book, you described, you say Stephanie had a craft as an actress, while you, Dean, you had a facility for it. For those who are not actors listening to us, what to you is the difference between having a craft and having a facility for acting?
Well, I think the simplest way to look at it is that Stephanie had training, and she had very specific methods of getting to the places she wanted to get to emotionally. For me, with a facility, and facility is really just sort of an ability to move in the. There was not a lot of craft there, but there was an ability to be present and to not bump over the furniture too many times. And I think facility is very helpful, but facility is not craft. And facility is likability, it's affability, it's an ability. It's you can play, but you're not going to play too far from the core of who you are and what you are. And I think it's safest to stay close to where you are. And, in some ways that's very fortunate because working on television, so much of that work is about bringing yourself to what you do. So that situation with Forever was I was that guy that was written in that script. I was Almanzo Wilder in terms of how I was raised and what I was all about. And that was very, very fortunate for me. I think as I went on, I developed more of a sense of craft about me in the work, where I had a little more confidence to make some more aggressive choices. But basically, my work on television is playing very close to who and what I am. And that's, really bottom line, Ed, that's why I was hired, because of who and what I am.
Dean Butler's on the line with us. Dean Butler, the actor known around the world as Almanzo on Little House on the Prairie, Moondoggie on The New Gidget, and Buffy's dad on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We'll take a quick time out. We'll talk some more, Dean. We come back on TV Confidential.
Who needs a vacation? Are you ready for an unforgettable getaway? Start packing your bags because Branson, Missouri, the vacation and entertainment capital of the U.S., is calling your name. For just $99 per person, here's what you get. A full 3-day, 2-night stay in a luxury resort hotel. A delicious full breakfast buffet every morning you're here. And when you call right now, free show tickets worth up to $100. That's right, free show tickets to an award-winning show on us. You don't have to leave the country for an amazing vacation. You can drive or fly to Branson and have an incredible time. Whether you bring in the whole family or just planning a romantic escape, this trip is built for you. We guarantee you'll love Branson. This is not a timeshare. It's just an unbeatable vacation deal for only $99 per person. You book now, you can use your tickets anytime this year. You don't even need to know your travel dates to lock in the special price. Hurry, because this offer won't last long. Call our Branson vacation experts today.
800-435-1887. 800-435-1887. 800-435-1887. That's 800-435-1887.